We've all heard of the term power couple before, but today's guest takes that phrase to a whole new level. Raymond and Colbey Daniels have both dominated the sports combat world. I'm excited for the privilege to sit down with this dynamic duo and find out the 24/7 commitment they make to be successful. This episode of 24/7 is brought to you by Oneway. Oneway invented the high-quality wireless music-powering Bluetooth. Never miss a beat with their Eclipse series true wireless earbuds. Raymond and Colbey Daniels, thank you so much for coming on our very first episode of 24/7. You guys are really the epitome of the type of guests that we really want to have on the show. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here today. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
It's an honor and pleasure to be here, and we're really excited to be a part of you guys' first edition for 24/7.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, of course. And you guys have your 2-year marriage anniversary coming up pretty soon. Congratulations on that. Do you guys have any plans for the big day?
It's been an exciting 2 years so far, trying to keep a smile on her face and keep her happy at all times. But we don't have anything mapped out. She has a business trip coming up, so she's going to leave town. So I plan on putting things together because I tend to have trouble hiding things from her. I tend to leave reservations or receipts of things like that out on the table. Even before we got married, she actually knew that I was planning on proposing.
He left the receipt out for my engagement ring. It was sitting out for over a week. So I did find that early, but yeah, so it's nice to have a business trip and he can plan something while I'm gone.
Wait, that's such a funny story though. Did you actually confront him once you found?
I did. He made up some story that he bought it for a friend that needed to get an anniversary gift for his wife, and I found it in like May 2019. He waited 3 whole months to propose. So everything that we did, I thought it was coming and I knew it was for me. And he was just waiting and making me super impatient.
Yeah, and
but he does, he can't keep secrets that well.
Yeah,
so.
well, she's very impatient, thus I can't keep them
that too.
as well. And then we were planning on doing it, and the day I was planning on doing it, we had this hot air balloon planned, and we were going to do it. And then next thing you know, the hot air balloon got canceled because of the weather.
Oh, geez.
So I had to kind of revamp the situation. And
you're good at thinking on your toes.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say A for effort. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
So I want to touch base on what it's like to be married to another professional fighter. I'm sure it has its pros and its cons. On one end, you guys are basically operating on the same wavelength and you guys know the ins and outs of each other's industry. But then on the other end, it's like, what does that dynamic look like when somebody's training for a fight and the other one isn't, or someone has to cut weight and then someone has to put on weight? Like, what does that look like in the kitchen? Are there arguments? Like, give us the lowdown on how that works.
It is a really unique situation. I personally couldn't see myself with somebody that was not a professional fighter. It's great. You have a training partner 24/7 that can help you with anything that you need. You said it perfectly. We're on the same wavelength. So when it comes to training, dieting, cutting weight, everything, we get each other. And he's not only a great training partner and understands it, he's actually one of my coaches and in my corner as well. So it's like I have access to him 24/7 that can help me in anything that I need. You encounter a lot of men that do MMA fighting, but they don't have the wives that do it as well. So I think, I benefit him a little bit as well too, because I understand the dieting and all that kind of aspects. So everything that we do is together and we complement each other in so many ways that it makes our job so much easier, I think.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get to see. There's a lot of different sacrifices that you have to make as a professional athlete. You're not able to eat what you want whenever you want to. Right. You're not able to go out a lot of times and hang out with your friends. True. You're not able to go out on dates and stuff like that and have just, a glass of wine sometimes or and drink with your friends and things like that. So the sacrifices that you have to make, it's so much better when you have a significant other that understands what it is that you're going through and they support you with that. I mean, even just eating alone, she she cooks for me and she cooks very healthily, so she keeps me on my P's and Q's. And she stays pretty much on weight and fit year round. So it actually has helped me out a whole lot in that regard. And then just the sacrifices that we have to make during those different times, it has been such a blessing because I've been able to to become so much better in everything that I do by having a partner in life that is not only my best friend, my training partner, you know, so it's an amazing experience to go through with someone you love.
We talk about it all the time with other athletes. I mean, to do what we do in this kind of profession, you have to be like, your mindset has to be a little bit different, because who wants to go out there and actually fight somebody for a living, and to go and get hit in the face and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that we understand the mindset of that, because you do have to sacrifice a lot to be an MMA fighter, especially professionally. There's so much you have to give up in life, but there's so much reward as well. And to have somebody that understands but goes through it with you is the biggest blessing that you could ask for.
So let's touch a little bit on how invested you guys are. I mean, it seems like you guys are pretty invested in each other's career at this point, but I know when I watch fights, I feel so much empathy when they go into the ring or the octagon. I get nervous for the fighter, and I'm just a spectator. And then when they lose, I feel bad. You guys have a whole other level of understanding because you guys have the experience under your belt, but also watching your significant other up there might be a little, intimidating. I know that there was a story, Raymond, you actually got sick prior to one of Colbey's fights. Can you elaborate on that story? Because that seems really funny, and I think the fans would like to hear it.
Well, I'll let her elaborate on the whole me being sick part about it and stuff and what she felt before. But for me, when I go out and I'm going to compete, I know what I've done. I know I've prepared myself in every way, shape, physically, mentally, spiritually. I think you have to be balanced in all those respects. So when I go out, I'm in control of, say my situation at the time, and I put it in God's hands in order for, He has a path that it's laid out for all of us. So I'm very comfortable with me going out there, no matter what the results are. Mm-hmm. I know that I went out there and I prepared myself the best way possible. When it comes to my wife going out there, it is a whole different story. Don't get me wrong, I am very confident and I believe in her and her ability and her skill set. But for me, sending the person I love out to do battle, is a scary thing, because that's in essence what you're doing in MMA.
Right.
And I'd rather just go and do it, like, let me go to battle.
Right.
But she's been blessed with this skill set, so it's great for her to go out there and to share that skill set with the world and go out and try and live, what she believes is her calling in life. And it's amazing to be able to support that, but it is by far one of the most scariest things that I've ever experienced. So she was going out for her last fight. I'll let her take this part.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite stories.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
I fight for One Championship, and they are based over in Asia. They are, when you think of MMA fighting, you think of UFC or Bellator here in the United States. But One Championship, being over in Asia, the audience and the platform that it reaches, they reach over 180 countries worldwide. Like, the audience is massive, bigger than, UFC and Bellator, but, being accustomed in the States, a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So I was making my MMA debut for One Championship, my very first fight with the organization, thousands of people in the audience, the biggest arena
I've ever seen.
He's ever seen too. Like, it was massive. Just fighting in a new country, my first time fighting in Singapore, the travel, just the time difference. There was a lot on my plate, fighting at such a big audience and such a big stage. And, he's one of my coaches. I have my brother as one of my coaches and another training partner. And I noticed that he started to get quiet and was starting to get really nervous. And when I get nervous, I kind of am quiet and I'll pace back and forth. That's what I do when he fights. But my opponent is walking out to the cage and she's already in there. They're announcing me, saying my name, and I'm at the curtains. The curtains are about to open. He's right beside me. I'm with my other two coaches, and he just turns over to the side and starts throwing up on the floor at my feet as they're saying my name, and I'm about to walk out.
So you're probably on camera, right?
Yeah. And Sage, my brother, and my other coach are like, just ignore him. Don't worry about it. Just forget it.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if he's that nervous for me, like, am I ready?
Right.
It's making me more nervous for myself. And I had to dismiss that, and then we're walking out to the cage. I'm about to get in the cage, and he's almost in tears as he's hugging me. Obviously, because you hug your coaches in your corners before you get into the cage. And I look back on it now, and it's one of the it's funny story now. It's one of the sweetest things that, you would want in your spouse. Like, I've never gotten that emotional for any of his fights. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit different, knowing that he, being a man and my husband out there fighting is like, I know that he can handle his own, and I know he knows I can handle my own too, but that was something else.
And honestly, I don't know if that's something that'll ever get easier or change or anything like that, just because I'm overwhelmed with just emotions, and I'm literally having flashbacks of all the different memories that we've had together, from training to dating to everything, and to send her out there where there's going to be danger.
Right. I mean, even my last fight, when I just fought recently, maybe 2 months ago, and during COVID, it was in the exact same arena that was as big as I fought in before, but it was totally empty. Totally empty and quiet. It was the weirdest thing because I was fighting on a card over there in Asia that they were televising live here in the United States. So being the time difference, I was fighting at 8 in the morning. So I'm at an arena, totally empty, so early. Everybody there is practically asleep. I had to get there at 6 a.m. trying to warm up, and only having one coach this time, and it was him. And so it was like pressure times 5,000, being the only coach and the only person I could travel with because of COVID. And you could hear a pin drop. It was so surreal. It was like.
Say, how did that work out?
And I did not throw up this time. I did not throw up this time.
You did not
throw up this time. So that was a victory for me.
Okay.
She won by first round arm bar, so a beautiful victory for her. It was actually on my birthday as well. So
Anna fought on his birthday. So
like,
so even more pressure.
And it was your birthday.
So she fought on my birthday. I did my best to make sure I didn't throw up because it was also my birthday. Also, that being said, it was so early in the morning that I hadn't had a chance to have anything to eat, so therefore my stomach was probably empty. So I made sure that I did not eat before this fight, because I knew that I was the only coach and I didn't have anybody else to distract her if I was on the side throwing up at the time. Last time I had two coaches, so
you did good.
Yeah, I held it together.
Well, that kind of just shows like your type of character. I mean, you guys show so much commitment in every area of your life, not just your job, but your partner. So the level of investment is like definitely there, and it's definitely showing. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the logistics of pursuing fighting as a professional career. I think people have this misconception that it's easy, or it takes simply talent or athleticism. Raymond, I know that you are a former cop. Okay, so that is a job that most people see with a lot of financial stability, consistency. What was it that made you want to take that courageous jump from all that consistency to a career as potentially risky as fighting?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up in a rougher environment, just from humble beginnings. So I had set a goal up for myself as a young man. I had a son really young in life, and I wanted to provide some financial stability for him. So I set a goal for myself to become a police officer. So I worked for the city of Long Beach for about 7.5, 8 years. It was an amazing and great experience. But while I was going through the process of being in law enforcement, there was a few different things, like kind of catalyst things that happened differently in my life, which made me have kind of just some different outlooks. One, my son's mother had passed away at a very young age while I was a police officer. So that being said, it was hard to have a job that was so dangerous, so to speak, running into buildings, helping people, say when most people are running away from, say, a violent situation where there's gunshots or knives and things. I was the one running towards it. So I wanted to make sure that, it's hard enough for any child to lose a parent, while they're so young. But I didn't want that to, ever affect him to have to, deal with the loss of two parents. While as that was going on as well, I was still a martial arts instructor, meaning I had my own martial arts school where I taught, and then I was fighting professionally at the same time. And I felt like my plate was really full, and I wanted to really understand my calling. And so while I was a police officer, my goal of becoming a police officer was so I could help more people and be able to help like the youth and just help the community. And I found that I was a responder, so I wasn't able to ever prevent anyone from being in the back seat of the police car. I could talk to them during a short period of time while I was, trying to deal with the situation. But I realized that as a martial artist, I was able to make sure kids and family members never ended up in the back of that police car. And by me being a professional fighter, it allowed me to expand my reach. So I was able to do what it is that I love to do, and I was able to become a professional at it and extend my reach and be able to fellowship with other people all over the world. And so it kind of came to a point where I had to make a decision whether I wanted to stay with this stable career where I could retire from. It provided stability, it provided great benefits. I made some lifelong friends, or if I wanted to step out on faith and trust that this was God's plan for me to go out and so I could reach and touch more people and have a broader audience. So I made the choice to just focus on becoming a professional fighter, which was such a scary thing. I had so many people doubting me, like, hey, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, this is a great field. People retire from here. They,
Right.
you know, have their pensions, this and that. But for me, I understood that I would be able to fellowship and to reach more people by becoming a professional fighter. So that's why I decided to step away from being a police officer. I have had great experiences, lifelong friends, but I felt that you know, God had a different plan for me, and you know, and if I wouldn't have done all those different things and continued with the sport, I wouldn't have met my beautiful wife and stuff like that, because we've met through martial arts, and it's by me being able to continue through that martial arts career that I was able to meet the love of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy how like the journey changed, but overall like the purpose and the vision was always the same, right? Like you always wanted to help people. So I want to talk a little bit about, again, the logistics and the business aspect of being a professional fighter, the ability to monetize on it. I know that you said it was a very risky transition, very scary transition. I think people have this misconception that if a fighter, maybe they might see an article like Raymond Daniels offered X amount for this fight. And I don't think, at least to my knowledge, that's more of like a budget, not a paycheck, right? You guys have so many expenses. You guys have to pay for your trainers, your food. If it's an international fight, I think there's taxes that have to be paid, right? Medical expenses, so many things. It blows my mind that people don't even just break even. How do you guys monetize? Let's talk about management for a bit. Do you think that it's necessary to have a manager in order to pursue this career professionally?
I feel like it's different for everyone. That's a great question, because to be honest, yeah, there's a lot of expenses. And unless you are the most elite of the elite MMA fighters, 99% of them are not making enough money to make it. There are so many different expenses. There's so many different things that you have to factor in, like you said perfectly, from your managers, your trainers, your food, just recovery, different things that go into training. And then you only fight a couple of times a year. So yes, you may get a lump sum of money for a fight. It depends on who you fight for, what your contract is, and everybody's different. And you only get that paycheck a couple times a year, and then you have to spread that out. So a lot of these fighters that are trying to make it to the highest level have to have other jobs or other sources of income to be able to break even or be stable financially. When it comes to management, we're actually both in different positions, because I'm very fortunate that I actually have my father as a manager.
Oh, nice.
My brother's also a professional fighter, and so he manages both of us and works our contracts and things like that. It can be a good thing or a bad thing, because depending on the organization that you fight for and who is your manager, they could be great at what they do, but the organization may not have a great relationship with that manager. But then you could argue and negotiate your own contracts and make money for yourself. But being a fighter, you need to focus on who you're fighting, getting ready for that fight. You shouldn't have to worry about all that back end stuff. So, you know, it's different for different people, because some people enjoy managing themselves and some people don't like to do that work. I feel like it varies from person to person. You're in a little bit different of a situation right now.
Yeah. Do you have management?
So throughout my entire career, I've pretty much managed myself.
Wow.
So I've always, you know, had the conversations with either the promotion or the promoter that it's going to be this or that for what it is I'm going to do, even managing who I fought, when I fought. For me, it's always just been a little different. As she said, I've really enjoyed that side of it because I wanted to understand the back end of it as a fighter. You know,
Plus, you don't have to pay a manager.
Yes, plus you don't have to pay the manager fee.
Right.
You know, so people see X amount of dollars and they say, wow, this person's making that much money. But people forget that you have to pay taxes on things. So you have to pay federal and state taxes. Now, mind you, say if I fought over in New York,
Right.
I'd have to pay taxes in New York and then also pay taxes when I got here back to California.
Oh, really?
So you get hit with a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
So I'd say 40% of your paycheck is already gone just from taxes alone. Then you also have to have like your coaching fees for the different coaches if you had to pay for any expenses
Right.
of them flying out to events, plus their travel, their hotel, so any miscellaneous expenses, it actually ends up starting to add up. So when they see someone that gets this X amount of dollars, they say, oh my gosh, look at that payday.
They live in lavish, yeah.
Yes, that's all in one day, but what they have to realize is, one, you do get that lump sum, but you have to spread that lump sum out until,
Right.
the entire year, or depending on how many times you fight in that year. So you have to be able to manage that, those funds in order to, be able to live. And as you were saying, most fighters have to have another, say job or source of income in order to sustain their lifestyle. So we're very fortunate and blessed that we own our own business. We both fight professionally, so we're able to monetize it in different ways.
Nice, yeah.
And then also sponsorships and things like that end up helping out,
Right.
as far as if you have sponsorships that cover your food expenses, that cover your travel expenses for different things as well. So at the end of the day, yes, the number looks like, oh wow, they get this big lump sum, and you do get that at one time, but you have to see the behind the scenes that you had to do supplementation, you had to eat, you had to pay for your training, you had to pay for getting back and forth to your training and your cost of living. So there's a lot of different miscellaneous expenses
Right.
that a lot of times get taken out before you even cash
See the
that
money,
check.
yeah.
For instance, before you
Plus,
even
I mean, majority of the fighters too, they don't even get a lump sum. A lot of fighters, I want to say 9 out of 10, they get paid a show fee. So let's say you get an X amount of dollars for just showing up, and then half of your purse isn't even guaranteed because you need to win to make your full purse. So if you lose your fight, you only get paid half of what you were supposed to get. So there's that added pressure of both these guys fighting each other. Like, they need to win to get paid their full amount. Otherwise, you walk away with half your money. And I mean, if you miss weight, they take 20% of your purse. So there's a lot of things that go into it, like you said,
Yeah.
Ray, that impact the amount of money you walk away with. And it's not all, it's not all
Sunshine.
sunshine and rainbows
Yeah.
like everybody thinks.
Yeah.
And then you only get a couple paychecks a year too that you have to spread out. So it does take some sacrifice.
Yeah, and it takes a real toll on the body too. That's the other people usually see the reward. Like, so they see the fighter getting their hand raised, they see the paycheck that they got, and they're just like, oh wow, maybe I should just do that because it seems like it's easy, but they don't see the struggle that the person went through before they ever got their hand raised. And the scary part too is even like during training, so say you're making all of these expenses for training and you're 2 or 3 weeks out from your fight and you hurt yourself. Or we had one of our teammates, TJ, before his previous fight, he was, a week and a half, 2 weeks out, and he got a cut above his eye. So he had to push his entire camp back.
Or like COVID.
I was gonna
I
say
went
that,
a
yeah.
whole year and a half without fighting. You were lucky to fight twice in 2020. I fought in November 2019, was planning to fight March 2020, then
Yeah.
COVID hit, and so
Right.
I didn't fight the entire year last year. So my fight I had just a few months ago was a year and a half in between. So, I mean, especially fighting over in Asia now with just COVID and that being where it originated,
Yeah,
pretty
their
much.
restrictions are so intense out there.
So
yeah.
crazy that it's like there's so much uncertainty that it's like back to you stopping being a police officer. It's like, would you give up stability for something that's so uncertain? People were calling him crazy, but it's like what you have to sacrifice to literally fight for your dreams is like you have to like prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah, and for me, it's just big to be able to step out on faith and do what you feel is right in your heart and what you believe that God has had planned for you. So for me, that's what it really came down to, and I think we made the right choice.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I mean, that takes an immense amount of faith. Definitely, I mean, in my opinion, more than any other kind of professional athlete, because yeah, you guys are individuals. And I mean, unlike, MLB players or NFL players, you guys aren't really given these like huge contracts, and like whether or not, you're injured or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like if you're injured, it does matter in your sport. And so, and you kind of have to fend for yourself. And so, yeah, the amount of faith that it takes and agency to even be a part of this sport is so, I mean, it's next level. Okay, so you talked about being able to monetize in some ways. Let's talk about sponsorships. How does that typically work? Is it you that reaches out to the brand or the brand that reaches out to you and your management? Just give us a little insight on how that relationship develops.
It's a little bit of both, actually. I feel like there's multiple ways that you can get sponsorships. You can reach out to people, which we've both done in the past, that like, hey, we really enjoy your products and use them. Do you sponsor athletes? Would you like to work with us? Or you have a manager that goes and does that out for you. Or you'll even have brands and sponsorship companies come to you directly to say, hey, we love what you look like, we love what you do, would you like to work with us? So it goes one of different ways, and then depending on the company and what kind of company they are and how big they are, or if they're a brand new startup, they can all offer different things, and I think it just varies from person to person and what the actual company is itself.
Yeah, so not, like I said, I've always managed myself. Actually, recently I'm working with Tiki, who's at HB Ultimate, and now having a manager, it's different. It's a little bit different, so it kind of removes myself from it a little bit.
Stress.
It's not as much. Yes, it's actually a lot easier. So they're negotiating my fight contract right now.
Cool.
So I'm allowing him doing that, and I'm taking my personal emotions and feelings out of that. It's been different now that he's bringing sponsors to the table for me, and he's saying, "What do you think about this company or this company?" And then as an athlete, sometimes you can just take whatever sponsor that comes to you, or you can. What we usually choose to do is take sponsorships from companies that we appreciate that they're a startup company. We currently use their products.
Nice.
So
we're not going to represent a company that we don't genuinely
believe in.
Like and use. Believe in. Right.
Yeah.
For us, we want to make sure we give a personal testimonial because we do have like large followings when it comes to like social media and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that if we are guiding someone to a direction, that it's something that we actually use and believe in ourselves, as opposed to a lot of times people just get this or drink this or take this, and they don't really use that product or understand or know about that product.
Right.
So for us, it's important that if we do put something out there, it's something that we like to use ourselves. It's something that we believe in, and it's so I think that's one of our big things for different types of sponsors.
Yeah, and that's not something that a lot of athletes, take the responsibility on, even though I believe that they should. I mean, obviously they're not like technically influencers, but they're influencing the public. And so, I think that's really, really important that you guys do that. Talking about branding and social media, like as mentioned before, your career is almost a little bit more difficult than being a part of like an MLB team or like an NBA team. You guys don't get to rely on the luxury of being a part of a team. Like you guys kind of have to brand yourselves as an individual. So what have been some effective ways that you guys have been able to differentiate yourselves from other fighters out there?
I mean, I can answer for Raymond. Your knockouts. I mean, him specifically, the knockouts and the way he finishes fights are unlike anything that any other fighter can replicate. And I'll let you take over.
Yeah. For
That's
me,
your thing, your signature.
Yeah, for me, my signature is I have a bunch of knockouts that have had gone viral multiple times.
I watched your knockout reel. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, so I like to do things just because I'm a martial artist. So for me, it's not necessarily about fighting because for finances or because of the paycheck. I love what I do. I love my sport. So for me, it's an opportunity to fellowship. It's an opportunity for me to reach out. So I look at it as every time I go out and perform, it could be the only time or first time anybody's ever seen me perform. And I like to do things that people joke about or people see on like a cartoon. People play video game. They're like, I did this move on the video game, or I saw the Ninja Turtles. But for me, I like the pressure of going out there to perform it and to do it in real life, to do it on stage, to do it under the spotlights. For me, so that's kind of how I'm not one of the fighters that likes to be disrespectful to my opponent. I don't necessarily have any anger or aggression towards that person.
Right.
For me, it's the beauty of my art form, and to go out and to challenge yourself. My passion comes also just, I wanted to see how good or great someone could be at something if you truly dedicate yourself to it. If you believe that this is the calling in life that God has put before you, I feel like it's you're blessed with gifts, and it's your gift back to Him by becoming the best version of yourself, and to use that gift to be able to relate to other people. So for me, I go out there, and that's what people see me, and I'm smiling, and I got my hands down, and I'm jumping around and doing spinny stuff, and it's honestly, I'm actually just having a good time, and it's a break, honestly, from how hard we work during training.
Right.
So during like our fight week, it's almost like a vacation from we don't have to run, we don't have to get on the bike, we don't have to watch what we eat so much. As soon as you make your weight, it's kind of like, it's not that you just go and eat anything crazy.
The weight cut's harder than the fight.
Yes, just the thought process of the weight cut being done, you're just like,
I can imagine
it's like a switch.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's this instant pressure that just goes off, that has been weighing on you. So I think that my performances are what make me different. Again, I don't go out and I talk. I don't have all the tattoos all over me or the colored hair or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just go out and I allow my performances to speak and to reach other people.
Love that.
I think it's funny because being in a sport that's so violent and so like hardcore, being believers and followers of Jesus, it's one of the things to where all we can really do is just be authentic and be ourselves.
Right.
So a lot of people on social media and a lot of fighters, they have this almost like facade that they try to put across, and the followers and all that stuff, it doesn't really matter. Like the platform and using that itself to spread the gospel is what's the most important thing to us. And I mean, everything will come. Like social media, it's not about trying to, pose or post things that you think would get the likes and stuff.
Right.
I feel like if you're yourself and you do what you believe in, it's like they'll come. And so I think that actually makes it a little bit easier and almost takes the pressure off of trying to be fake, if that makes sense.
Or not. Yeah, and I'm sure all
exactly.
of your fans appreciate the authenticity, right? Okay, so you talked about execution a little bit. Raymond, I saw a video where Joe Rogan referred to your work ethic as an iron will. And he used that term when talking about your ability to transition from a karate champion to a kickboxing champion. But of course, your roles aren't really limited to just that. You are a father, a husband, you are a business owner. For any normal people out there, one or two of those roles would be enough. How do you guys and of course, you're a part owner in the business as well. How do you guys manage to live your lives? Like, I'm so mind blown.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. I think it's, if you find what you're passionate about, what it is that you love to do, and you find different creative ways in order to create sources of income for yourself, so to speak.
Right.
When I was a police officer, I wasn't getting up every morning and looking forward to going to work. It was something that it did, but it wasn't who I was.
Right.
Being a martial artist, I believe that is my calling, that is my blessing that I can share. And so now what I've done is I've allowed it to evolve and continue to live through me. So we have our martial arts school together. We both fight professionally. I have my own personal evolution fighting systems, which is an online training platform. So therefore I can share the knowledge that I have and that from the experiences that I've had with everyone, and not necessarily have to be there, because we're very fortunate and blessed to be able to travel all over the world and teach martial arts seminars and be able to teach people how we do what we do. So that way they can learn from us, they can be able to touch us, be able to be in our presence, and be able to teach them what it is we want, because we want them to have those same types of experiences. So yes, there's a lot of different hats to wear. Being a father, it's amazing to be able to try and find time in being a father. It's like you expect certain things from your kid because he's like your kid, so he should know better and these different things. So it's awesome to find balance and to see him come into his own and become his own person. But also being able to share those experiences that I learned from teaching other people and share those things with my son. So it's an amazing experience to be able to have your life in a full circle with everything is just in sync with each other. And then having a wife that shares it with me and shares my passion and my calling and is able to support me, whether she's in camp or whether I'm in camp. We both know that we have each other's back, whether I'm doing the laundry and stuff because she's in a fighting camp, you know, or making the food for her, which she does for me most of the time because she cooks better than me.
It blows my mind that you guys even have time to do laundry. Like,
That's one thing that I struggle with the most. I will say, when you're trading as much as we are, two to three times a day for the amount of time, it adds up really quick. And then there's both of us.
or even develop like these new business ideas. Like, where do you guys find the time?
He's
That's
definitely the creative one when it comes to business ideas. I mean, he's always thinking of stuff. I mean, we'll be in the car driving, going to a movie, and he'll be like, hey, what about this? What about this?
Nice.
Like, it's like it never stops for him. So
well, and then, yeah, you guys are both like very driven people. So I'm sure once the idea comes, it's like, of course it's going to happen because you guys are just so goal oriented, right? So it's crazy to think that out of all these roles that you guys both have, you guys have been fighters the longest. That's at the core of your identity. So you guys are very seasoned. You guys have been in the industry for a very long time. If you can say one thing that you hate and one thing that you love about the direction that the industry is currently going in, if it's going anywhere, if it's evolving at all.
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot of pressure as an MMA fighter to be something that you're not, because what sells fights? Yes, you could be a great athlete, you could be very talented and a great fighter, but it's the fighters that talk a lot of trash, that are just, you know, out there and just say negative things and do negative things and cause a lot of drama. And so we like to pride ourselves in being athletes that we don't talk bad about our opponents. We don't ever say anything that like we wouldn't like being said to us. And so it's almost like you feel this pressure, you have to like sell something that you're not. And so it's what sells fights. Yes, you like to watch the drama, you like to watch the anger and fighters go at it, but we don't believe in doing that, and that's not the right thing to do, if that makes sense. So that is a lot of pressure that you have as a fighter, and we do understand that. And for me in particular, as a female, we get a lot of criticism from men out there in particular. They're like, women shouldn't be fighting. And you have women that are very, very talented and stay humble, stay conservative, and respect their bodies. And then you have some women that are literally selling themselves online, and you're supposed to be a professional athlete. So it kind of almost, it's a little bit distasteful.
Right, yeah.
But you know, everybody to each their own, they do what they have to do. But for me, it's hard because I'll get those comments and I'll get those messages like, hey, you know, why don't you do this, why don't you do this, or, you know, take a little bit more off or things like that. And it's like, that's not the way I want to carry myself.
Right.
So for a woman, I feel like it's a little bit different than a man, but the same thing being a professional fighter.
Yeah, that's I always say a family that kicks together sticks together. I think that's why we're so close and so tight. But in regards to when it comes to fighting and things, I think I always say to a fighter is never really believe your own hype. You know what I mean? Never believe that clout, that glamour that you're experiencing, because you're just a person at the end of the day. Don't forget, you know, how you got there, who got you there, the people that supported you during those times. Sometimes people end up losing that identity, and they start to believe that hype that, you know, the audience gets, and they get behind you, and they kind of do like a WWE personality where they're like, oh, I'm trying to create this facade or this persona, but then sometimes they get lost in that, and then they start to believe it. I think, you know, authenticity is the best. You know, be yourself, you know, lead by example, try and be a role model, and try and influence people like in a positive way. One of the big negative things I see from the sport is, you know, one, the blatant disrespect for other fighters, you know, when people are competing, but for me, is what the fans do sometimes. You know, the fans sometimes, you know, from a Monday night quarterback, from a fly on the wall looking, a lot of times the fans are very disrespectful to fighters, and they don't realize that all the worries and the stresses that the fighters have on themselves and that they're experiencing, that they're going through. I mean, there's a lot of emotions for me as a male fighter, and me now being married to a female fighter, I didn't had no idea the type of emotional roller coaster, just of the stress and the different things of life that they go through from just different times. So a lot of the fans are very rude and disrespectful to fighters, and it's easy to kind of to do that if you're not the person that's going out there and trying to live your dream and stepping out in faith and taking that risk. And not only you're just stepping out into the unknown, but you're doing it on a world stage, which is, oh my gosh, it's one of the scariest things. So imagine if you could have your biggest failure, so to speak, in life, just in front of a mass audience of millions of people. You know, imagine the nervous energy that you would feel.
People are so mean online too. That's another thing. Like, it's still taking me a very long. You do it so much better than I do, but I'm a woman and I'm pretty sensitive. But like the types of comments that we read and the types of messages that we receive, people are very, very mean. And like you said, you're putting it all online literally for millions of people to watch you. And so if something happens and you do experience your biggest failure, and to have all those critics coming at you when you made a mess up, it's like, and they would never dare to step into your
say that to your face, or
and say it to your face. You're exactly right. Say it to your face, or let alone do what you do and fight in front of the audience. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. I changed my answer to you.
I can do that from time to time, persuade her over this way a little bit. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that it's unfortunate that the sport is going to, and it's sometimes with social media. You know, people don't have to confront someone. So if you, you know, not that you should ever, you know, hit anyone or use any type of violence because someone said something rude and disrespectful, but there always are consequences for your actions, and people feel that they can create a fake account or go online and say something rude or disrespectful and hurtful, and they say what they say, and whether there's truth or not truth to it, they don't realize that they are harming that person. They don't know what type of mental state, say, that person could be going through, or what they're struggling with in life, you know, and you know, by saying those things, it can be taken very wrong. It can be very hurtful. And even she reads some of it, sometimes I read it, I don't let it bother me. She knows that I could care less,
sometimes,
you know, but
it's
you know, and it does affect people. And I think that for me, that's the worst side of the sport that I'm seeing is not necessarily always from the fighters, but sometimes from the fans, and they don't know what it is to go out there and to put it all on the line in a moment. And that's the beautiful thing about fighting, is because there's a push and pull. Somebody might think that oh, this person's gonna win. That's why it's called the fight. You're trying to go out there and impose your will and do what it is that you want to do, but you have a person standing in front of you that wants to stop you from achieving your goals. And it's an exciting thing, but it's a scary thing. It's one of those experiences that not many people will ever experience in their life. I always tell people, they ask me, what is it like to go out there to fight? It's like when you go on the closest I can get to is like on a roller coaster, and the roller coaster's like tick, 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 and it's going really high, and you're in the clouds, and you're just oh my gosh, why did I get on? In fact, who signed to be up for this? You know, so,
like, why do I do this to myself?
Exactly. you know that feeling that you get before you're like, oh my gosh, it's about to, and then right when you get, and you hear the tick, 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 and it stops, and you're like, uh-oh. And then that drop and that free fall, that stomach coming into your throat, that fear of it's something that I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. But that fear, that it excites you, it shows you that you're moving in the right direction in life. And if you're doing things in life and you're not challenging yourself where you feel those feelings, then I think that you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're not doing your true calling that truly excites you. And so, you know, I just want to encourage people to live their best life now. If you guys say something online, make sure you guys are polite and courteous, because that person is going out there living their dream in front of the world. And our goal is always to continue to motivate people and not pull them down.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a disheartening situation. I mean, I'm sure with the world of social media, you know, evolving and becoming this huge thing these days, it's something that so many people deal with, but so many professional athletes deal with, but you guys as individuals, you guys have to carry all that weight being the brand ambassador of yourself, right? So, I can't even imagine like the scrutiny and just, the comments. You talked about a little bit about staying humble and staying grounded. You guys, like, how do you do it? I mean, I could see if there was just one champion in the relationship, maybe the other would keep the champion in check. But how do you guys just like stop each other from hyping each other up all day? Like,
I mean, we do, because he said, don't believe your own hype, but my job is to hype him up, and then vice versa. So, you know, we're very blessed that God put us in each other's lives when he did, and we found each other, because I really don't believe I could do what I'm doing right now without him. You were fighting before me, so I can't speak for that. But I mean, it's very special, and I mean, we're so alike in so many ways, but we're very, very different in so many ways as well, and we balance each other out and complete each other, really. So, I mean, he makes the whole process and the whole experience that much better.
Yeah. So I believe, like I said, don't believe your own hype, but if you are there to support your significant other, you want to make sure you hype them up. So I believe her hype, and I'm her hype man. We were literally at her last fight during COVID, first fighting experience. We're at this arena that fits
was that the one in Singapore?
Yeah, in Singapore.
Yeah.
And mind you, she was the first fight at this card, and it's like 8 in the morning because it's televised live here in the States. So she's the first fight on the card. I mean, we were there before everyone got there. So I mean, everyone is kind of like yawning, got their morning coffee, and she's coming out, and it's silent because there's no one in there.
Right.
And all you can hear is my voice echoing throughout the whole arena.
So loud, even the announcers and the commentators were like, "Oh my gosh, Colbey has a very vocal corner." I mean,
you had to
could hear every
compensate
single
for all
thing
the
that he was
people that were
saying.
gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could hear me, and when I watch her fight back, like I'm like, man, you can hear my voice kind of loud. I was just like, I'm like, were they?
You were louder than the announcers.
I was louder than the announcers on the mic and stuff, and you just hear me yelling, and my voice is, mind you, echoing through this arena because it's empty there, so there's
That's
nothing
so
to
funny.
absorb the sound. But so I think it's important to have the people around you that hype you up, that keep you grounded.
Yeah, my biggest supporter.
Yeah, have people. I think it's about your circle. You know, having people that will keep it real with you, and they're not just. I call them like yes sir men. They just say yes sir, yes ma'am to whatever it is that you're doing. You know, so have the people that are willing to kind of not necessarily put you in your place, but have that real conversation with you. I think that sometimes that gets forgotten when someone receives this champion level or this fame or whatever it is, that sometimes the people around you are afraid to kind of like hurt your feelings. I'd rather have a friend around me that is willing to tell me the truth than you know, just kind of beat around the bush and allow me to go through life and make mistakes. So that's why I try and keep a really tight circle, a close group of friends. And then also just realizing that there will be people that come around you that are kind of a little bit more fake and that are not there for your best interest, you know? So just surrounding yourself with the best people, and then don't be afraid to allow new people in. I always think that every friendship sometimes isn't always meant to last forever, and then there will be new people that'll come into your life that are trying to help lift you up and stuff like that. So just keep your circle tight, and you know, make sure you have people that you believe in that have the same goals and stuff like that. I think that's why we get along so well. Even though we have our differences, we have a lot of the same goals and stuff like that.
Yeah, you guys have so much depth. Like, it seems like a lot of the lessons that you've learned while fighting have really transcended and made overall impacts on your actual life. What has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned while fighting that can also be applied to other areas of life as well? If you can pick like one, because you guys touch on so many, but what's the most valuable?
I mean, for me, martial arts is a way of life. You know, it's something that you live, something that you push. But like, for the fighting side and life side, it's just the perseverance that fighting teaches you.
Right.
You know, things don't always go your way. You don't always feel like doing things. You know, I don't feel like eating properly all the time. I don't feel like getting up and running. I don't feel like going to the gym and training all the time. But you know that you have to persevere through it all to get to where you want to be in life, and that's just in life. And it doesn't matter if it was fighting or if it was some other career, things won't always go your way, but to have the fortitude to be able to continue to push towards what it is your goal. So even though you may not be able to see it, having faith that you will eventually get to your destination, and not forgetting to celebrate the little victories, you know, that you did make it, you know, to training, that you did persevere through that.
Right.
So realize that you are successful now, not just when you accomplish your goal. Every step that you take toward your goal is is success. So don't forget to celebrate along the way. And when you have those setbacks, that's when you have to kind of persevere. So I think that is what martial arts is about. That's what fighting helps us with, because sometimes we do have those setbacks, and they just set us up for success.
Yeah, the amount of resilience mentally and physically, being a fighter, like I think it's beyond like any other professional sport. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree. It's definitely not something for everyone, and I think that it does make you kind of have to prioritize things in your life and appreciate those good things and those good times, because it is literally like a roller coaster. Every fighter has ups and downs and wins and losses, and then especially just this time period that we've had that's really crazy right now with COVID, it makes you value and appreciate family and everything that you're working so hard for. So it is a very unique sport that isn't for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's, I wouldn't be doing anything else.
And when we have those setbacks and stuff like that, I think that's when it's important to have, someone behind you and people to support you. I know she's been there for me, during my time of need. I've been there for her, and I've seen her show her perseverance. For me, when I think of resilience, I've seen her bounce back from things that were really strong that many people would have given up on or quit or taken because it's easy to quit and they just say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm done and I'm over it, but I've seen her, bounce back from things. And whenever you have loss or whenever you have setbacks, I think it's important to sit back and to relax and to reset and then appreciate those things that you really truly care about. And that, I think that is one thing that COVID has kind of shown the world is, don't forget about those people that you love, kind of get that reset in life and prioritize those things that are truly important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you guys basically, this is like your lifestyle. I mean, you guys are, yes, being a professional fighter is your career, but it seems like you guys like eat, live, and breathe this lifestyle. I want to get into like the nitty gritty of like preparation. Colbey, let's say that 2 weeks out from fight night, big day, what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh man, 2 weeks out. So for me personally, because I do fight overseas, I actually have to leave for Asia about 10 days-ish before my fight. So, the 17-hour flight, travel, getting there, now quarantine for, a couple days and all that stuff. So 2 weeks out is a few days before, I would be leaving. So that would be, packing and prepping things, making sure my food and my weight is exactly where it needed to be. I would be doing my last few workouts with my coach, Coach Cal, the training lab. And I would still be doing my training sessions 2 times a day. So it's a lot. Typically a morning for us would be, you wake up and first thing you do is you train. That first training session will be a couple of hours in the middle of the day. Come back, eat, shower, get ready for the next training session. We also have a business, so we have to go to our karate school in the afternoon. I run the office while he mainly is on the floor teaching, so just making sure that all of our ducks in a row are there.
Yeah.
Come back in the evening, have another training session, all in that time, trying to find time to eat and do everything that you need to do to stay on point. So it is a very, very busy schedule, especially being business owners.
Right.
If we didn't have our karate schedule, I think that it would be a little bit easier, not having to be up at our dojo so much. But, training a couple times a day, getting all of our ducks in a row before we fight. It's almost like 2 weeks before is all of the hard work is done. It's like the main part of training camp, I think you would agree, is done. Yeah. It's just like fine-tuning things. Like your weight's already pretty much there. You're not going to really learn anything else new by that point. And so it's just kind of mentally getting prepared, right?
Yeah, dialing ourselves in. We're very fortunate and blessed to have an awesome sponsor when it comes to food called Trifecta. We're very fortunate and blessed that a lot of times that takes that food equation kind of out as far as for us when it comes to eating and stuff like that. And she prepares them in so many different ways. So it's like a different meal pretty much every time we eat. She's fine-tuned my entire weight cut like 2 weeks out and stuff like that for me, that I already know what I'm eating. My weight is already on point. We're usually doing tailing off of all of our hard work. so now it's just about making sure that you're fine-tuned and that you're ready to go mentally and physically, so fortunately she packs early.
I do. I pack so early. I don't want to forget anything, especially when you're, it's not like you're fighting somewhere here in the States, you can just run to the store. Like,
that's true.
I'm fighting overseas. I'm in Asia. I can't just go get things that I would need. So yes, I pack early.
For me, I like to go get my I call it like my junk food, kind of like shrine, my junk food,
post-fight.
It's a post-fight thing that I do. So especially if I'm fighting in a different country or different state, I can go get it in different states, but usually I'll go get it, and I literally have a bag.
He has a full suitcase dedicated to junk food.
Wait, I want to know, what are some of your favorites in that suitcase?
Oh yeah, so in the junk food, okay, so the number one thing that I have to have no matter what else is Reese's Pieces.
Okay.
So that is like, I'm not really, she's the sweet.
I'm the sweet person. Okay. He's like the salty kind of chip kind of
guy. So Reese's Pieces is the candy of choice for me. But I mean, I have pretty much everything that I have not eaten for the past
every kind of potato chip from Funyuns to all sorts of stuff.
Funyuns. I got powdered donuts.
Yes, Lay's powdered donuts. Oh my gosh, they're so good. Well, my coaches love it because right after I fight, it's like my post-party victory. People like to go out and do things, and we just kind of go into a sugar coma.
What he does is his fight week. So if he fights on a Friday and he gets to his hotel on a Monday, he will unpack that suitcase, take up the whole hotel desk, and set it up on display to where he looks at it every single day.
The willpower that must take, that's torture.
It's like goal. That's your goal.
Yeah. People are like, why'd you go out and finish the fight so fast? I'm like, I wanted to get to my junk food, and he was standing in the way, so I needed to hurry that up. So so for me, that's one of the things I look forward to, because when I'm going to get my shrine like a week or 2 weeks out from my fight, it shows me that I've pretty much done everything that I needed to do in order to prepare myself. So I like to get it. That's why I set it up, the fight week. I set it out there for everybody, for me to see. Sometimes, like when I'm doing the final parts on my weight cut, I've caught my coaches with their hand in a chip bag or something like that. But they only ever take it from the one that accidentally popped open. There's always, I don't know why, there's always one that pops open during the travel, probably because it gets smashed or something like that. And then they're like, oh, well, that chip was leaking out. And so they're trying to do me a favor, I guess. But
I couldn't do that. I don't do that. I mean, I'll take a couple things here and there, but like I definitely don't set up a whole display for junk food, and I personally don't want that temptation.
Right.
Even though I know I won't get into it, it's just still why do that to yourself?
So you've never dipped into that prior to the fight, like
No.
Wow.
It's always after, and then the only thing I actually do bring to the fight from the junk food pile is my Reese's Pieces.
For like immediate.
So
Reese's Pieces, if you want to sponsor him,
exactly. Reese's.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I ever bring to the fight and stuff. So.
Going back on preparation, you guys talked about a little bit like post-fight, but are there any like pre-fight rituals that you guys have? Like any meal that you have to have right before, or any superstitions or?
No, I'm actually not a superstitious person, and there's not any kind of rituals that I go by, because I think that every single fight's different. Every opponent you fight's different. Every circumstance, and things can change all the time. So I'm very much go with the flow, easy, things like that. So for me personally, no, actually, I don't have any kind of pre-fight rituals.
For me, I have some different things that I actually do go through before I compete, when I'm walking out. So I just started with a new strength and conditioning coach for my last about 4 fights.
Several fights,
Yeah, so with Coach Cal at Training Lab, so he has me do this new pre-fight adrenaline dump that is, oh my gosh.
Interesting. Wait, give us those details. That sounds wild.
Like people have seen me doing, they're like, oh my gosh, like you're about to go.
Fight before a fight.
It's like a fight before a fight.
Okay.
So you can get all the nervous jitters out and everything like that. It is something that not every fighter can do before they go out and fight, but because we condition ourselves in a certain way, oh my gosh, you go out and you're so relaxed, you're just so aware, you're so in the moment. All the nervous energy and the jitters that you kind of had, they're actually gone. So it's an amazing experience. I do this thing called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So before I go out, I always do like I like my intro. I come out and I go through my music, and I'm just kind of, I'm finding my groove, finding my zone. And then, I always like to make sure I pray before I go out and fight, because I do believe that God has put us here with a purpose, and this is a gift that He's given to me. So I'm doing my best to make sure I represent Him in the best light possible. So I do this thing called NLP. It's neuro-linguistic program, where I kind of just, as I'm praying, and then I run through all the images in my mind of success, of failure, of how I've persevered through those things, and then they kind of give me like the strength to come back out and boom, and be able to perform at the best that I've performed, and be at the peak of my performance. It's something that I kind of do. I've been doing it since sport karate days and stuff. So it's like a little traditional thing that I go through, that people see me do. They know that I do. I have people that kind of copy it and mimic it and stuff like that. So for me, it brings me back to that moment in time where I am at my absolute best, and I'm able to go out and to perform at the highest level, no matter how many times I've done it. And all my nerves, once I do that, they just go away instantly, and then it's showtime.
Oh, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit about praying. I guess I wouldn't call it a ritual or something that I do, but obviously praying and then listening to worship music is something that I do as well. So I wouldn't call it a ritual because it's something that we do every day.
Yeah.
So it's a habit.
Yeah.
But I did actually want to mention that since you said that.
Yeah. So we do pray obviously daily, but
listening to worship, it's something that I feel like you used to listen to music totally different.
Yes.
And a lot of fighters don't really warm up or train to worship music, but we actually train and work out to worship music.
That's so interesting.
It's a different kind of, it gives you a different kind of, I don't know, this feeling I just can't describe. Yeah, it's like just knowing that like I'm about to go out there and fight somebody who is trying to take my head off. It's like, but it gives you this peace. I'm praying in my room and I'm listening to worship music before I go to the arena, and I'm just in tears before I fight. And it's just like something that, I don't know, you can't,
It's just such
can't
a
really,
spiritual moment, yeah.
Right, yeah. And then you wouldn't think that, I don't believe that a lot of fighters actually do that, but it is something that I feel like is very important. And I wouldn't call it a ritual because it's something that we do so often and regularly, but it is very important.
Yeah.
And I make sure I always do it before each and every one of my fights, because you see it. I mean, we do it behind closed doors, but no one ever else kind of sees it. And not that you need anybody to see what it is that you ask for, what you pray for, and things of that nature. But I do think it's important for people to see that spiritual side of us, and that we, even though that we are fighting, and it does seem like a violent sport, that it's not about the violence or anything like that. So that's why I always make sure I kneel and I pray as I'm in the ring, and I'm not only praying for myself or anything like that. I'm also praying for my opponent as well. That that we're both safe and we're both able to go back to our loved ones and our family. So I think it's important sometimes, because people see the physical side of what you do. They see your athleticism, they see you perform, but they should also see that you're actually working for a higher power.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure like parents must love you guys, just because like you guys are incredible role models when it comes to your faith, and people see fighting as such a brutal, violent sport. It has a lot of negative connotation that comes with it. From what angle would you encourage those people to view fighting from?
I mean, it is a very violent and brutal sport. I think if you look at an athlete, it's like looking at an actor that's, in a movie. It's like you look at them as that actor, as that role. It's like you look at us as these violent people that are going out there and hurting each other, but like we're all humans and we're all still people. And it's like we're not going out there to fight and to permanently hurt this person. It's like you were saying, like you pray for your opponents. We pray for our opponents because we don't want to get seriously hurt. We don't want to seriously hurt our opponents too. So we are normal people, I guess, that have feelings.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see, because martial arts, a lot of people only see the violent side of it. They see the brutality side of it, but they don't see the philosophy behind martial arts, the respect, the discipline, the camaraderie, the courtesy. Those are the things that we have grown up with, and that have been instilled through us from our instructors and from people that we've come in contact with. So a lot of people only see that side of it, and people that sometimes go into they just go into MMA or into a specific sport. That's the difference between, I always think of being a martial artist, is because we have the different philosophy. Yes, we are going out to fight to use a skill set that we work at consistently on a daily basis. We're not going out and getting in fights at the movies or at the bar or anything like that, so we're not using our gifts in a negative way. We're using it against another person that has signed up to compete against us. So we're, in essence, testing our skills. And in order for us to grow, the only way to truly grow is to push your limits, is to test yourself, is to go out there and risk failure, because the only way, fail stands for first attempt in learning. So the only way to get better is to go out there and to test your skills. But I think people just miss the philosophy and then the respect and honor that comes with the martial arts, because the only time that they've ever had access to it or to ever seeing it is through the brutal side, through seeing the fighters fight each other, and they're like, oh, that's martial arts. But if you notice, most fighters at least, after there's such respect for each other after the actual fight. As soon as the bell rings, you see them hugging, because it's the ultimate form of respect that you can have for somebody, is to compete against them and try and impose your will. They try and stop you, try and stop them, and at the end of the day, that's all it was. It was not that you had any negative emotions necessarily towards you, or even people that do have, problems with each other and they fight each other. Some of my best friends are people that I fought against. I'm like, man, you're actually a really cool guy. You clash and you have a better understanding. I mean, my wife loves beating me up during my training.
I do.
It's like her favorite thing. So we have this drill that we do, and she loves it because she gets to hit me, and basically I have to put my hands behind my back, and I get to try. I have to try and move and dodge all her punches and kicks, and it's hard.
It's a coordination drill defense drill for him. But I get the pleasure out of trying to hit him. It is very frustrating because he's very hard to hit, but I do enjoy it.
Yes, she does enjoy it. So I remember one time, I think Carlos might have been actually filming us, and we were about to do the drill, and then they didn't say like action or anything, and she's just like, I'm like they didn't say go yet. That was my nose, So it's good times that we have during that, but it also improves just our relationship, even as a husband and wife, that she's able to beat me up and I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? It takes all of it. But I think just being able to work out and being able to do that is such a stress relief in life. Sometimes if you're having a rough day, going out and being able to exert yourself in such a physical way is just stress relief from the worries of the world.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you guys have shared so much about as a fighter, as a couple, and as ultimately humans. So thank you so much for your time. I want to shift a little bit and talk just a little bit on the future. Do you guys have any upcoming fights? I know you have a business trip coming up. If you want to elaborate on that.
I actually have a business trip. I'll be in Boca Raton, Florida next weekend. It's for a supplement sponsor of mine, Redcon One. I've been working with the company now for a few months, but I've been taking their supplements for the past 2 years at least. So I'm so appreciative of them. They're flying me out. We're going to do a little meet and greet. They're having a big event over the weekend. So it'll be a great experience, and I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
While she's gone, I'll be planning our anniversary, making sure that I hide every receipt of anything that I bought. Hopefully, that she doesn't come and find it and see it sitting on the kitchen counter. But I'll be working on filming my evolution fighting system. Oh, cool. I'm working on my pro series. So I have a sport karate series, which is where I come from originally, sport karate. And now I'll be working on a professional series to be able to show all the professional fighters that are stand-up kickboxers or MMA fighters how to kind of fight like I do. So I fight a little bit different. I'm hit. I hit, and I'm not hit by my opponent as much. So for me, the longevity of my career is super important. So teaching people the different techniques and tools that I use in order to be able to extend their career. Because at the end of the day, fighters, if they take a lot of damage, it can be very detrimental. You want to have a life after you hang up your gloves or whatever the case is. So I think it's super important, and I think that's the beautiful thing about martial arts is you're able to give back. So I'll be looking forward to giving back my evolution fighting system, and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you guys are, like I said, so much depth here. I want to end on a really motivational note because that's what our show is supposed to be about. If you guys can think of one thing that you would like to be remembered for, any kind of legacy you want to leave behind, what would it be and why? This could be individually or as a unit, whatever you guys think is appropriate.
Just not be afraid to go out and to live your dream. You know, one of my hashtags is RD and GOAT. It's you know, greatest of all time, but most importantly, God over all things. Don't forget to have God as your navigation in life, you know, the wind to yourselves to be able to push you, and have faith that, you know, you have a skill, you have a talent, you have an ability. Don't be afraid to use that. Don't be afraid to step up in front of other people and in front of the world, and to use those gifts. I think that it's one of the scariest things, but it's one of the greatest blessings that you can share with the world.
Yeah, I believe 100% that God places a dream inside of every single one of our hearts. Some people look at that as like a gut feeling. It's you know, whatever it may be. It's like, don't be afraid to pursue those dreams and pursue those goals. He would not have placed that in your heart if he did not want you to go after it and believe that you could achieve it and you have that power. So, you know, fight for what you believe in and fight for your dreams and your goals.
I love that. And honestly, on a personal level, as a host, I don't have the most consistent job either. And so it's really refreshing to talk to people like you who have really made something out of themselves and, you know, have created this full-time career. So definitely inspiring conversation. I know our viewers are going to really love listening to it. You guys, like I said, set the tone for everything that we want 24/7 to be. So thank you so much for your time. We touched on how busy you guys are, right? So thank you so much for coming in today. And yeah, you guys are welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this episode as inspirational as I did, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you all next time.